The next set of vehicles are from the Chinese. We have access first of all to the ZSD63. This is a rank 2 battle rating 3.7 SPAA, has access to two 25mm PG87s, not a ton of ammunition, and also the clips are kind of annoying because the reload's long, but it's not too bad because you can put out so much damage with one single clip. The whole armor is weak, the turret armor is weak, it is an AA after all, and has a crew of 5, surprisingly, so that's probably where your survivability is going to come from, because if your turret gets taken out, well, you still are alive, which will be annoying to a lot of people. Has access to a 260 horsepower engine, but only is 14 tons, so should be able to go around the place at a decent click. And it has access to AP and also HE belts, and a mixture of that as a default belt, which is really nice. And that's really about it. You know, it's a nice quaint 3.7 AA, very similar to other machines that you see at this BR, such as the Wind or the Contrario. So yeah, it's just one of those things. And you can see from this thing, this is one of its really nice camos. I think this is easily the best Chinese camo. But you can see from this thing, you can just fire onto planes as long as you hit with them, and you aren't a dodo like me, and you should be able to do decent damage as long as you hit. But you can see the reload. The reload's a bit of a problem, and you only get, 80 rounds at once, and it takes you years to reload this machine. So that's going to be a bit of a problem for it going forward, but I think it's still nice to get another AA in the Japanese tree, since it is a tree which is lacking AA in general. The next vehicle is the new Chinese premium, the T69-2G, which I think should be the Type 69-2G, but it's at least labeled the T69-2G right now. Rank 6, battle rating 8.7, standard premium rank 6, has access to the 105 ZPL94, which gives you access to some interesting rounds. So it has a heat round, a HESH, an APDS, which is an APFSDS, 351, 304, 203 respectively. Then it gets this DTB1 round, which is a HEVT round. Now, I've been trying to test this round, and it doesn't seem to be working the way I think it's supposed to work, so this might be a problem that I'm having because I might be screwing up with it, but I'm pretty sure this round is designed to hit planes or hit helicopters. Like, this is supposed to be an anti-air round for this machine, or something similar to that. I might be wrong, as I said. I might be completely wrong, but it just seems to not be great at doing that, but that's the only reason I can see for its usefulness. So since this is a premium, you get everything fully modified. Has access to a laser rangefinder. It does get night vision, so no thermals on this machine, unfortunately, but does get some nice smoke grenades in the form of 8 of them. And the main difference between it and the Type 69 in the tech tree is the ERA that it finds itself with. 370mm of kinetic protection with chemical protection, and 5mm worth of kinetic protection on top of it. Does have the 12.7 Dishka on the top, does also have this slat armor on the back, which is pretty cool, 50mm as you can see, which is really nice to see it's modeled. It also has the 4-man crew, so it has the loader, the gunner, and the commander, and also the driver down here. Reload rate of 10.4 seconds, but you got to remember that's with my crew, so if we actually get it up, it can be down to 8.6 seconds, which isn't too bad for a 8.7 vehicle. It does have access to a 580 horsepower engine. It is a little bit heavier, 37.7 tons though, so it doesn't really move around too much. Gun depression of 4 degrees and turret rotation of 16 kind of lets it down, but it's a Chinese vehicle, so you should be used to that by now. The overall thing is there needed to be a replacement for the T62, and it looks like this machine is going to be it. So yeah, it also fits into a really nice 8.7 lineup, the ZTZ D59D1 and the TTS as well. And if you're worried about thermals, well, these vehicles do have a penchant for them, so you don't have to worry too much about that. The next vehicles to have a look at are a bunch of Italian-American vehicles, I think is the best way to put it. The Italian tech tree has just been filled with a bunch of American vehicles, and I'm guessing it's to pad out some of the BRs so you can create lineups. Now this is one of them, but this one is special. This one's a premium. So at 3.7, they're getting what is known as the M4 Hybrid, or the Caro Medio. And to me, it looks like it's an M4A1 chassis with maybe an M4A2 turret, or something similar to that. So it's just one of the variants of Sherman's turrets, on one of the variants of Sherman's chassis. It should be very similar to a bunch of the other Shermans out there. Negative 10 degrees gun depression, really good reload rates, really good M61 shell, which is what you want to look for. And it should be a pretty decent premium to be able to grind through at least up to rank 3 of Italy. And something that you can run alongside with maybe something like the Leoncello, but mainly the Semavente 9053, which is needed support for a long time. The next one is a Sherman 5C. Now this might look pretty similar to another vehicle, which you have seen before. Yes, the Sherman Firefly. But there is a key difference between this one and the other ones, such as the Tipo, which is already in this tree, at a little bit lower of a BR. This one, the M4 Tipo right here, and also the Firefly that is in the British tree, both of them, the Polish one and the British one. So the key difference is in modifications. This thing has access to APDS. It gets access to the Shot SV Mark 1, 228, 209, 87 respectively, and also it has some nice smoke grenades as well. But the main thing is the APDS, so that's why it's at 5.3 instead of a little bit lower. The next one is the M3A3, which we all know from the Chinese tech tree. It's an American-built tank, which everybody used, everybody and their mother used, not just during the war but also post-war, and yeah, it's got a little bit of extra armor on the body, a little bit more spacious, and also still packs that wonderful 37mm. Other American tanks that the Italians will have as well is they get their own Chaffee. So the Chaffee is now here for the Italians. There is also access to an M4A4, which you will find in the Chinese tree, and another tree that we will see soon, without the 50 cal on top, unfortunately. Then also, just to add icing to the wound, there is now another Hellcat, which is now in the Italian tech tree. So instead of just having to deal with them from China and also America, now you have to deal with them on the Axis side. So it's going to be Hellcats versus Hellcats versus Hellcats versus Hellcats, and it's going to be hilarious. So overall, there is a lot of American vehicles being added to the Italian tech tree. But it kind of just is how it is at this point. If it's there to flood out BRs, fair enough. I'm not going to comment too much on it. On to the French. The French have access to 3 new vehicles. The first one being the D2, or the Char D2. This is a rank 1 battle rating 1.3 vehicle, and it is technically a medium tank. And what you'll find from this is the armor plate on the front is only 40mm. The turret is a little bit thicker at 45 and also 56, and it does get access to that 47mm that a lot of these other French tanks has. It also benefits from the buff in reload rates that the 47mm was able to acquire when it came to the most recent update, and has a little bit of kind of spaced armor on the side in the form of the structural steel, and also has some 10mm covering the tracks, and even under it has 40mm. So shooting this thing from the side won't be the easiest. Shooting it on this flat part though will be. And then on the booty has 40 again, and then 5 all over the place. The French really did like armoring their behind, just like they did the front, which is really nice, at least in game. Only has a crew of 3. 2 in the front, 1 in the top, and it has a ton of ammunition, 108 rounds if you want to use that much. It's probably a bad idea though. Wonderful negative 18 gun depression on this vehicle, and it also does have a vertical stabilizer, which means that a lot of the time you'll be able to get the first shot off, which is really nice. The next vehicle is a premium, and it is a gold premium coming to the tree. This is the AMX 13 M24, and this is probably my favorite vehicle of the update so far, just because it has such a wonderful historical significance, not just being something which was obviously tested on the AMX-13 chassis, but also some of the conflicts that it was involved in. This is basically a AMX-13 chassis which has a Chaffee turret on it. That's about it. You know, there's nothing else that actually sets it apart from the fact that I'm pretty sure this vehicle doesn't have a stabilizer like the normal Chaffee does, so therefore this will be a little bit more, harder to use the gun right off the bat, so you're going to have to get used to that. It's also got a 4-man crew, 3 in the turret, 1 in the hull for the driver, and also the 270 horsepower engine that you're used to. Can only carry 37 rounds, but that should easily be enough for any tanker. And since it is a light vehicle, does get access to scouting, does get access to the airstrike mechanic or the modification, and also gets access to artillery and smoke. So at 3.3, it's a nice little premium. I'll definitely be picking it up. It's one of the vehicles I am really looking forward to for the updates. The M4A4, once again, as I said, graces us for the Italians and the French and the Chinese. So this is being added to the French ranks alongside stuff from the last update, such as the M3A3 and also the Crusader, to bolster the middle ranks of France to make them, I suppose, a little bit more useful. No 50 cal on the top, unfortunately. That is only reserved for the premium Chinese vehicle, which is sad, but, you know, it is how it is. It is just an M4A4. If you want to find its stats, you can have a look at it on the live server right now in the Chinese tech tree. The next and last vehicle for ground is the Strf 9056. This is a new CV90 basically. Now you have the Strf 9040C, you also have the LVKV 9040C, the CV90 120, CV90 105, and now you have the Strf 9056 too. What is the difference between this and some of the other ones? Well, this has access to the 40mm that you'll be used to, has access to the APFSDS that you'll be used to, the M90 with 143, 124, 83mm of pen respectively, also gets HE and a HEVT shell, so this can be useful against multiple air targets as well as ground targets. But you can see that interesting growth on the side, right? Well, that is an ATGM launcher, and what that ATGM launcher fires is RB56 Build 2s. Now these are very interesting when it comes to how they work. The idea is that they go above the target and then explode downwards into the target. Now, from my limited testing that I've done on the dev server so far, I can definitely say that it isn't something which happens all the time, but it is something which is pretty cool to see when it does actually show off. And obviously the other stats, it only has 20mm of armor all over it. It only has a crew of 4, so this thing should get hull broken, and also it has this kind of thing which is modeled here, which is why I kind of think this launcher is a little bit bugged right now. I think what's supposed to happen is Bradley style, it's supposed to come up, right? But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be happening. So, you know, we talked about before, there are quite a few vehicles which are bugged in the game. So just, you know, just make sure to take that into the account. So you get another, you know, STRF at high tiers, but this one has a nice little gimmick on it with its 250 meters per second missiles. So to give you an idea, we're going to aim just above this IT-1 so the missile doesn't hit it, and it goes above it. And unfortunately the smoke popped because this the smoke is for some reason bugged right now on this machine, but you can see it didn't last and it wasn't going to hit. So we'll try the T62 now. And yeah, this thing has commander thermals, this thing has gunner thermals, so you don't have to worry about missing out when it comes to the thermal gang. And then launcher is deploying, because obviously it has to go up even though the animation isn't working right now. So we'll fire above it. and you see how it explodes downwards into it. Now you can directly hit stuff with the missile if you really want to, but since this missile is designed to go above targets, it's much better to hit them from a a down perspective. That's basically the way I see it. There's also kind of a nice little animation which will show, I suppose, how this missile is supposed to work eventually once it goes to the perpendicular at 90 degrees. You can see that the front and back actually close on it, showing that you aren't able to fire the missiles. So that's really nice, and I can't wait for that animation to be done. I think that'll be really cool. So we have a T-55 or a T-54, I think it's a T-55. We'll look at the top of the turret. You can see it goes above it, and bang. And I don't know why the cam is not working. It was working a little bit before, and then it just decided it wasn't interested. But understand what is happening here is the ATGM is going above the vehicle and going down, and that is 4 kills with 4 shots. Now it's a little bit different when you come up against something a bit more beefy, such as this machine here with a bunch of ERA on it. It will actually absorb a lot of the ERA, but if you can get it correctly, you should be able to one-shot the vehicle. And the main issue with these missiles is that they are pretty slow. It's not exactly easy to hit them, and sometimes they explode downwards and just hit the ammo rack and just destroy everything. So there are a bunch of other vehicles in the game which could technically have access to this missile, such as the Type 89 had a variant of this which was pretty cool, but just understand this will be either a boom or bust missile. It'll either be really useful, but I tell you what, it'll be great for montages, so I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to it already. You're not really able to fire it on the move though, since it has a battle gear of very low kilometers per hour, so that's a bit of a problem, but yeah. Overall, pretty nice. They've also, just as a side note, before I end this video, they have done a bunch of APDS changes to a lot of vehicles, and it seems like they've increased the damage on it and also increased the cone of effect. So APDS may be finally making a comeback. We'll have to see when that happens. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. This has been a look at the ground vehicles of update 1.98 on the first dev server. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Eugene's Terry, Daniel Stanton, Blackie, Elove Goat, Jay Wilt, Martinez, B. Young, Chris Giltnane, Trigger Hippie, Ambrosius McClellan, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.